It's very possible.
Oh, 6 to 9?
That might have been the window.
The doodle said 6 to 7,
It
so
was like on purpose.
technically we can leave
Was that an Easter? Maybe it was an Eastern time?
Yeah, maybe.
Something like that.
Except there would have been 8 of them. Okay. I'm confirming that we are live. I got a not quite yet. Jeff will be taking care of the roll call for us. We are live. We are on camera. Oh. I will kick off this bad boy. Welcome. Welcome to the July 24th, 2023 Skokie 68 Board of Education special meeting. Jeff, may I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Katrina Bell Jordan.
Here.
Janu Joseph.
Here.
Emily, and I am embarrassed.
Lonegro, we're in Chicago, Lonegro.
It's the GI
Lonegro.
that they have
Yeah, I
on
know.
your switch, but Emily Lonegro.
Right. Here.
Joe Rupp.
Here.
I am here. Noelle Sullivan.
Here.
And Annie Warshaw.
Here.
Okay.
Wonderful. We will now open our meeting for public comment. We have special guests in attendance, no public, and we did not receive any in advance, so we will move right ahead to the reading and acceptance of minutes. May I have a motion?
I motion to accept the minutes. I don't have the paper that tells me what to say.
Oh, it's right there.
Oh. Sorry, guys. Okay. Where were we?
Number 3.
Okay. I call for a motion to approve the minutes from the July 15, 2023 Board of Education closed session meeting.
Second.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you. Jeff is noting,
Yeah.
and feel free to call for a vote when you're ready, Jeff.
Exciting new world. Katrina Bell Jordan. Katrina,
I didn't hear. I heard
are
my
you
name.
in favor of approving the minutes?
Yes.
Janu Joseph.
Yes.
Emily Lonegro.
Thank you. Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
I am also in favor. Noelle Sullivan.
Yes.
Annie Warshaw.
Yes.
Wonderful. Phyllis, if you're watching, we miss you. There we go. I think we can now move on to our next item of business, which is the reason for this special meeting, our superintendent search planning with BWP and Associates. May I reintroduce Drs. Mark Friedman and Phil Ehrhardt.
Hey, thank you for selecting us. We're very honored to work here. Again, last time we were here, we talked about our knowledge of District 68, and I was just telling Joe, just dropped a load of money last weekend at the Nordstrom sale at Old Orchard. So keeping your tax base going.
There you go.
So I don't think it's a conflict of interest if we spend money at Nordstrom's to come back to the district. So well keep doing that.
There you go. Thank you.
We're really thrilled to be here, and we won't keep you late tonight. This is more or less to kind of get your thinking down the road. And we're looking at things that we're gonna be doing in October and November, but we wanna get a good start and get you at least to key in on some specific weeks or dates so that we don't have a problem at the last minute trying to sync 7 calendars to do interviews. So we try to get ahead of the game, try to plug some things in. Phil's already looked at some specific dates. We have a worksheet to walk you through tonight. I'm gonna pass that out. And on this, we have a bunch of questions that sometimes solve some of the other things that are on your mind and lead us to some of the decisions that we make. And the first one is such an important one because when we come into the district and we do a focus group, stakeholder group, we need somebody to help. We can't plan that. We don't have access to the groups. So we really want to know who do we stay in contact with for that. Would it be Jim? Would it be you, Joe? A board member? Who is going to be our contact person other than Joe for the search, we assume?
It's a very good question. I don't know that it's something we need to task Jim with.
You don't have to tell us tonight,
Yeah.
but somebody has
Right,
to
so that's something we'll.
kind of let us know.
And what will that commitment look like? Just so is it just like you're communicating to everybody like, oh, we're gonna be meeting on this date, or is it
No,
What does
it's,
that look like?
no, it's more
Logistics.
like the logistics of it, so if we say we're going to be coming in on a date to do focus groups, for example,
Uh-huh.
they would do logistics as far as where we would meet,
Okay.
the time to do the meeting, typically like your
Get the
staff.
room,
We do
Yeah.
the rooms and do it after the school day, what time would that be, all those types of nuts and bolts
Okay.
type of thing.
That would be Joe with the dotted line to Jim. He's not facilitating, but anything that happens in the buildings, any kind of, you know,
If
Yeah.
you would all have to
If we're
ask
gonna have to bug him
Yeah.
anyway.
I mean,
I'll be
reserving
the-
spaces.
yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I'll be the buffer to Jim, so
Yeah, so-
yeah,
that's,
okay,
well,
great, we don't wanna just keep calling Jim all the time.
Yeah.
But he's retiring, so we can do that. I hope you hear that on the video.
oh,
So the second one is one that we really wanna talk through here with all of you. Open versus closed via or hybrid search. So there's three real models to use. One's an open search where they advertise the job, people apply, we do interview groups, group of teachers, groups of parents, groups all the way through, and the names obviously of the candidates are out. What we've noticed, and we've seen it lately, in the last, how many years, 2-3 years?
At least, yeah.
By going to what we call a closed or a hybrid search, we get a larger pool. And the larger pool is what you want. You wanna be able to choose from a large number of candidates, and I'm not saying big. The actual pool's probably gonna be 20 to 30. That's what we're seeing. In recent searches that we've done in quality districts where it's attractive. And I'm not denigrating any other district, I'm just saying certain districts where finances are in shape, someone's retiring, someone's happy that they're moving on to the next stage of life, there's no acrimony. Those districts sometimes sell themselves, but yet you still have to go out and do the job of presenting the argument for why you should come to this district. So we like to see a candidate pool where we can talk to them individually and then reassure them that if they don't move forward, that their name isn't gonna go back to their home district, that they're gonna be looked at as a traitor or somebody who is ungrateful. Because 68's a quality district. You may have somebody from a district who has less resources, less money in the bank, all those kinds of things. And what they would do is dip their foot in the water and dip their toe in the water on that. And then see if this is a place that I'd like to go, and hopefully could do that without the whole world knowing. So what we've come up with is this hybrid type search where we take candidates, we do not run them through the old model of going to 15 different groups and having everybody give thumbs up or thumbs down. Actually, I haven't done that in a long time.
Long time.
Anywhere we haven't done that. But there are districts that may still want that. We can do anything. We're just trying to strategize and say, here's what might be best for you. You get to keep your pool and not worry about people dropping out because their home district found out about it. And I'm assuming these are superintendents in standing or associate or one step
Deputy,
away,
whatever.
deputy superintendents from larger districts. So that's what we wanted to have a little bit of discussion about. How you think about that? Katrina?
Quick question, in either the closed or the hybrid search, at what point do you engage the district stakeholders? Is it at the point when they're finalists? Because that's the model that, you know, I think we know we need to engage the district community. So I just, in that model, at what point do you bring in the stakeholders? Because they, you know, they do wanna have an opportunity to get feedback on it.
That's the hybrid piece.
Right, and I'm asking
And
about
the
that.
hybrid piece means that after you've looked at and whittled down your applicant pool to 2, maybe 3. We've seen in districts looking at 3, so we don't automatically say 2. Then you create a heterogeneous group. Teachers, some parents, some administrators, and you can have the candidates interview with that heterogeneous group. You generally do it with one.
Typically, when we do that, we emphasize that that group that Mark described you is an advisory group. And that they would provide feedback, and the feedback would be something about what do you see as the strengths of this person? And what are additional questions that you might want them to ask? We do not ask them to rank the candidates, because that's not what their job to do. Their job is to advise the board on that and to get that. The second thing is, too, we want to emphasize the process will be transparent, even with a closed or a hybrid. So we will work with your technology person to put like a process up on the website that'll have like a timeline, so everyone knows when that's going to be taking place. So it's closed, but not closed from the standpoint of having open communication with all the stakeholders with that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to visualize it, you may have a group of about a dozen. We get them to sign a confidentiality agreement that they won't divulge the names, because these are people's careers. People who are applying to you, their careers are at risk sometimes by just making that leap. And so we ask them to sign the confidentiality agreement, and then as Phil just said, we have a form for them to give you feedback. So we direct that feedback rather than let it be all over the place. And it's much, much more beneficial for you to see the directed feedback. You get all of those forms and you get to read all of those and hear what everybody is saying. And so it's actually a better direct model. However, if you wanted that traditional, well, the older traditional model where we, had maybe 3 or 4 groups and the finalists rotate around them, we can do that too. The first thing these candidates are gonna ask us is, what's the search gonna turn out to be in the end? Am I gonna have to parade in front of groups, or is it gonna be closed? And even our competitor search firms are going to this too. It just seems to be more business model than it used to be. Not saying we're not taking input from the community. We're gonna have a survey, we're gonna have stakeholder meetings, we're gonna have open meetings at schools. So we're taking all the input. It's just this stage. And so typically in that group, there might be PTA presidents, PTO presidents, a couple administrators, teachers, representatives, and probably some other group, support staff, whatever it is that you felt would be necessary. That makes up a nice group of 12, very heterogeneous. We guide them.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Really does.
questions about that? What do you think? You don't have to make that decision
Okay.
tonight, but we wanted to get it
How
out.
was the last church conducted?
More traditional. There were lots of stakeholder meetings. I don't remember, to be honest, at what point the finalists were interviewed. I think it was more traditional, but it for all intents and purposes, now it seems like the hybrid.
Yeah.
The way it's framed here, but definitely there was a survey. There were stakeholder groups that were helping to compile the profile and to give
Right.
input. But when it came to interviewing the finalists, I remember there, I think were 3 or 4 maybe, and it was very late in the process before names were pushed forward to the community. Timeline was definitely published.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we called it a hybrid search back then. I
I
think,
think we just made that up.
yeah.
Because we were looking for a name.
Because I was looking for something different than what we did, and
Yeah.
this seems very similar to what I remember us doing. I just don't remember when, like, the names were.
We just did this in Park Ridge, and if you remember, there was some community upset in Park Ridge, and some people were upset with the board, and the superintendent had resigned last winter break, and so we felt, okay, they're gonna want every person under the sun, but we worked together to come up with a model that really reflected the hybrid model. And everybody was on the same page. And so we went through with that and it worked beautifully.
And you're talking about in the open, how many names are you actually releasing? Or at what point are you open about all of the names?
Not at all.
Oh, you're not, in an open search, you're not?
When an open
In an
search,
open search, just to,
it's not releasing the names, it's the candidates
it's just
will unfold
putting them in front of
in front of the
Right,
groups.
so we're not releasing the names, but
Yeah.
we're not keeping them, yes, understood.
Do
So,
you
yeah,
still get real tight coverage from the Pioneer Press or?
he has not been to the meetings, like he used to.
Basically, we're finding, especially in the North Shore, basically finding press coverage is almost non-existent. The high
Mike used
school
to be-
gets it here, but
For sure, yeah, you,
It was Mike, wasn't his name? Was it Mike? I can't remember. He used to come to every meeting. But I think it's been
You're not
years.
excited.
I think he was at a meeting before I joined, and then I don't think I've seen it, I think his name.
That might have been the last meeting that I was listening to.
And, yeah,
It's been years
the
then.
state of journalism, I'm sure he's
Yeah, it's
assigned to
changed a
something
lot.
else, right?
Yeah.
That's
the last time I
that's
heard it.
It just
typically where
ceased
some
being
of this stuff
interesting
comes
after you
out.
joined up. That's probably a good thing, right?
Well,
Needs
when everything's going well, we're not the best story, right?
Of course. So, the piece about names getting out, candidates will ask us.
Right up front.
And we try not to lose any solid candidates over that. We rather you not choose them than to lose them over a reason that we could control if we want to.
I have a feeling the next question is gonna feed our opinion about that question, because it sounds like it's the more experienced candidates that are the ones who are not interested in having their names broadcast.
Well, we just wanted to hear your thinking,
Yeah.
Do you?
It's very standard though, that, when you become a finalist, then all bets are off, but until that point,
Right.
whether,
It's the interview process that gets
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
That's a big problem there.
really,
So that's, I think, my own ignorance and something I wanna be educated about. The culture is, if you are on a track that you want to be an administrator, you want to be a superintendent, I would think that's generally known by the career choices you're making, it's not. Okay.
It's different, like in the corporate world, it's like you have, only from the legal perspective, an employer cannot ask you, are you actively looking, right? But because education is such a tight circle, and especially as you get to the admin level, like everybody knows everyone. So even if there are confidential and this and that, like someone's gonna say something to somebody.
Right.
And if you don't tell your superior ahead of time,
That's where I'm kinda going, is if,
a lot of these bigger districts, and whether it's junior high or high school, they have what I call a chessboard. They have their own vision of where they think certain people are gonna go. And if you fit a certain way, but you wanna go a different track, that could look like you're not being a team player, you're not adhering to the vision of your superintendent.
okay,
So that can become a thing, and then you could potentially have a ceiling on your career because you didn't go along with something you didn't even know about.
interesting.
could I add to
Yeah.
that, that in industry, in other industries, maybe I should say, there's you're just kind of expected to be out and about, kind of looking at opportunities. In education, higher education, K through 12, these administrator positions, even in getting out that you are exploring, which as a professional you have every right to do, it's ordered and framed in a different way, as if you are, you're only going to be there for a certain number of years, and they don't want to invest necessarily in your strategic thinking or your planning, and it can sometimes undermine the ability to lead in a particular academic community. And it's not fair, it's not right, it just is. And so maintaining the privacy of the candidates until they are finalists is really all that this, our firms can do. At that point, it's fair game. And I don't know between Janu and I if we're capturing it the way you all understand.
Well, there's a different level with those who are seated superintendents currently. Those are the ones who would be reluctant to take a look if they knew the whole world was gonna talk about it. That's what we thought I think Phil and I have talked about this, that's what we thought, your next superintendent is likely to come from a group of experienced superintendents. Rather than, we asked the question, how important is experience versus are you willing to look at someone? When we say inexperienced, that means not in the seat, but certainly down the pipeline.
Yeah.
Certainly, you know, the expectation that they're an assistant, they're a deputy, the expectation is they're gonna move up someday. However, when you're in a position where you're going to get a lot of interest from experienced superintendents, if that's the direction you think you'd like to go, take advantage of it.
Then I would also say, I also would say that if it's a deputy or an assistant superintendent, because you said there's a pecking order, let's say I'm the deputy and Mark's the superintendent, and I know Mark is getting close to retirement. Do I put my name out there or not? So that's another reason I think it's good for going, sounds like going with a hybrid with that. And we just start to.
I just had a question about, so it's names that are private, but does that include like demographics? Because if you gave us names, right, we could all go and Google that person and like.
Well, we're gonna give you all their background.
Okay, so we still get that, we just
You
don't
get
get their
everything.
names.
It's everybody else. We
Yeah.
get everything.
You know everything.
Oh, we get
You
their
know
names.
everything.
Oh, okay.
We need to.
Not even that,
Yeah.
okay.
This is the district community, the
Okay,
administrative staff.
No.
And when
I'm
we
saying-
give you their paperwork, you will
We're
be
signing
Googling
it.
at the table.
Yeah,
You get everything, more than you probably want, right?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good group of Googlers too.
Oh, it happens all the time. We'll meet with the board, we'll hand out the applicant's, applicant data information, so that's their applications, 8 pages. Before we're getting a word out, people are, you know, especially with a computer in front of you, it's very easy to Google. And so we try to get out ahead of that too, and be all prepped for that. But good candidates will have almost nothing in their Google. Sometimes we have to explain things. That's what we do. So what do you think about experience and inexperience?
I don't have a question about experience or inexperience, but
Yes.
I'm wondering
I'm
that,
open to an inexperience.
I'm wondering if, like thinking about just generally, in the business world, how few women and people of color are in positions of leadership, that they are kind of pushed down by the system that's created to not advance into those top level positions. So by saying, you know, inexperienced, are we disqualifying a whole bunch of people who will be very qualified for the position because they haven't been able to advance in their own system for whatever reason? I think that that's something to
I
think
think
about.
an important clarity is, I believe Dr. Garwood did not have experience as a superintendent before he came here, but he was where was he located at the time?
He was in Palatine.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was a
Assistant superintendent.
assistant
Associate
superintendent.
superintendent.
I think that's the, I would say there's a range of experience, that it's not necessarily a sitting superintendent. I do think there is,
But I think that you're asking a different question about whether, as we define experience.
That's exactly.
Well, that's-
How do we
I think-
define an experience?
And I,
yes.
Sorry.
I think would defer to these folks, but the portfolio or the profile for the superintendent will, you know, it can be quantified, it can be qualified. I think as we look at, you know, an EDI focused approach to this search, I don't necessarily think that they're integrated, but I don't necessarily believe that the years of experience is by default greater than in, you know, communities that are not of color or vice versa. And so I think we have to be careful to have an open and equity-driven search while still searching for the kind of experience, the years of experience, the type of experience that we want. And then we hope to get a really diverse pool of folks that meet those criteria. And if they don't meet and they have to meet the minimum criteria for us to stay legal,
Sure.
but where they don't meet some of the things that are preferred, that's where, like, they may bring something else to the district besides that one thing that isn't minimum requirement.
Right.
And so I think that our attentiveness to diversifying the pool is critical, but we cannot shirk the responsibility of making sure that we put in the criteria, the kind of experience we want from, from this person. So,
Emily, does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
wanna keep it in the front of the brain.
Right.
Yeah, that's how we operate, that's always part of it, so it's, for us, it's nothing that we have to really go back to the drawing board. I mean, that's just, you just look at the people that we've placed recently and, it's very simple. People know that when they work with us, regardless of their background, race, color, creed, gender, whatever it is, they know they have an equal fair chance. And that's why I think we do as many searches as we do. And you just look around in this area and you'll see people of color, people of backgrounds with a lot of experience, people who are learning on the job in some places. And sometimes it's a tough learn, but we're there to back them up.
Right.
We're there to help them. So we're not saying don't do anything with inexperienced people. We just want that word to be out there to see if you're accepting, and if we bring you a quality and experienced person who has everything else checked on, all the boxes checked, then we know we'll be there to make them a good superintendent.
Noelle, were you wanting to?
Yeah, I think we have, and this is credit to Jim for setting it up, but I think we have a really special opportunity in that we set up that shorter strategic plan. So this person is actually going to be able to come in and talk about some vision. So if it is someone that's like got a really big range of experience in the education space, but they've never been given an opportunity to actually like think in those big ideas and what that could look like, then the fact that we have that dangling, like a year after this person starts, there's going to be a process to go and create a new vision for the district for you. What would that look like? And that can actually, I think, get rid of some of the the biases in that you have a person able to sort of think about those big visions. And anybody that is applying to this district is going to do a lot of research on what this district is all about anyway. I'm actually very excited to see what they try to do to make that any better than it is, which is kind of what's exciting about it. So I think that actually puts us in a situation where we could actually have a different lens on candidates, because we can ask that question and it's known to be a serious question because that's coming.
And I think it also comes down to, like, again, going back to your question of what's inexperienced look like. I mean, off the top of my head, you'd want someone who's already has district office kind of experience. Obviously, you have to have the superintendent license, stuff like that. Like, you wouldn't see many principals jump right to a superintendent. So you're talking, just looking at our district, talking about like someone like Christy, who's been an assistant soup, has it inexperienced in the sense that she's never been officially a superintendent, right?
Mhm.
But those years of working at this district office, creating a vision, working hand in hand with the superintendent, and then what's their spin? Like, what was something they directly led that connects to the vision of whatever school they're at? I think that is where, when you're talking inexperience, you're talking about someone who hasn't created, but it has been a major player in something.
Basically, that word inexperienced is equivalent to not operating under the title superintendent.
Yeah.
And see, I read it differently.
See, that was
why
the
we need to
point I
think
was
about
asking.
that.
And that's why
Yeah.
I read it very differently, because I would say very clearly, no, we don't want an inexperienced, I don't, we need
Yeah.
an experienced candidate. And so, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No,
That's the
we don't want an
thing.
inexperienced
No,
candidate.
we don't want like somebody to like me being
Right.
superintendent.
Right, and we know
That's
that
not a
you
good
would-
idea.
You can apply.
Right.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
She's
You'd be
already moved to
surprised
something.
that the people who apply, but I guess qualifying experience is what we would do in the profile, which
That's
is,
right.
you know,
That's
That's
my other
all gonna
question.
come out in the profile.
right.
So
But
this-
for me, my answer to this question is the level of experienced candidates. I think the district is in very strong positioning right now, and I think we need someone who can come in and not just continue that. To Noel's point, there's an opportunity to grow and expand, but we can't have someone who doesn't know what to do with all of the work and the effort that has gone into creating and cultivating this. So I feel really strongly that we need someone with a range of experiences that make them experienced. It could be years, It could be types of positions, different levels. It could be strategic planning experience. It could be leadership experience. So it's not just they have been assistant superintendent for 10 years and they're ready to do something else. It's what did they do within that experience? But I really think that I feel a strong responsibility to turn this district over to someone who has enough experience to know how to keep what's working well and grow it. And I don't think that necessarily that's an opportunity for someone who's less experienced. I think it's a great opportunity, but we're not in a district that's growing or rehabilitating itself. We're in a district that's doing exceedingly well. And so I just want us to think about that.
And we have our own complexities and challenges, and
Yeah,
I'm not saying there are
sure
any
does.
starter districts for a superintendent, but we certainly wouldn't fall under that umbrella.
Yeah.
So I don't want
We
to come on
just
too
wanna
strongly.
get a sense,
but-
you
yeah.
helped us, that
We're
summarized it.
Okay.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Katrina.
How about internal candidates? Do you know of any internal candidates who might be applying?
We wouldn't know right now.
Yeah, they've not, no one has made it clear, but we,
And we treat all the candidates the same, that we just wanna get
We
that out of the
just,
table.
if somebody was, an internal person was interested, we would treat them just with respect and just what you would want us to do. Treat them fairly and equally and give them the opportunity.
We had an internal candidate last time, you all,
I know.
and they were treated exceptionally well, but it was, you know, it's awkward.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's only as awkward as we make it, so yeah, we don't know, but we did have that experience last time.
Very much so, yeah. And the last question, that's just something we have to zero in on, salary and compensation range. We don't have to nail it, but give us, so when we're asked,
we have a district goal of maintaining the 75th percentile. I have to, I can just check on
The
exactly
North Cook
how that,
set-
the North Cook
Yeah.
75th, yeah,
Yeah.
Jim can help us with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Jim and then our attorney too.
Yes, for sure.
What's our attorney's name?
Todd.
Todd, don't
Yeah,
tell
they
him,
know
don't
Todd
tell,
too.
don't tell him I asked his
We know
name.
Todd.
He's watching the video right now. He's-
Oh, sorry, Todd.
Hi,
I forgot your name.
You have a great attorney, yes, you really do. We're very much experienced working with him in many different ways, and the whole group. So those are the things we want to just have a little bit open discussion with you. None of these things are cast in stone. We truly can make adjustments, but we now have a sense of what you're thinking. Katrina, you summarized that really well. And that experience piece versus inexperience is a difficult one to sometimes walk that line. You might see a spectacular up and coming leader who truly we know is gonna be a great superintendent, but might not be the right fit at the right time for District 68. Happens, but there are people out there, and we won't know until, we throw the rope out and see who climbs on. So I think we're good on that. Any questions about that?
So timeline, get your calendars out, let's start looking at
Let's
that.
do it.
Well,
We get down there.
yeah, we're not quite calendar.
Hey, before we move to calendar, I just want to make sure that, Jeff, you had a question, Annie you had a question, Emily, you had a question, but I know we offered more kind of qualitative comments. Did you all want to say anything else to these folks just about the process before we go straight to calendar?
No, thank you.
I
Just
feel
jump right in.
like I've got it. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Jump in.
I don't feel like I've got it, but
I feel like I got what you've explained.
I have a couple of questions about Jeff Sturman.
Yeah, you hired us to guide you through.
Yeah, I was
so
gonna
you
say,
don't
I
have
feel
to-
like I gotta delegate all the responsibility over here.
Yeah,
I
that's
just wanted to
it.
make sure everybody had a chance to say something.
That's absolutely the way to do it.
Absolutely.
And that's why we have this first meeting to kind of sort all this stuff out. After that, you won't see us other than on the phone or a report or something like that. It's not like we're hanging around the district and spying on everything. We certainly don't do that.
We'll do the interviews, of course.
Yeah, we'll do that, yes. So we're gonna walk you through now a timeline calendar that leads us to the end of this fiscal year, the end of the calendar year rather, and get you a superintendent. Now, jumping the gun a little bit, but we want you to focus on certain times. And Phil even put together a couple of dates that may coincide with some meetings that you have. We tend to look at doing things outside of your regular meeting. So if we come and present the candidates to you, it's a 2-hour workshop. And that tacked onto a regular board meeting, it's a long night. So we'll usually look for another night, but give you plenty of notice. We know pretty much around when that's going to be. And, you know, if it's like, okay, Jim sends out a doodle or something like that, we can nail those down early. So you can try and keep all your kids from being sick that night and any no soccer games, no whatever it is. We've seen it all. So tonight is the planning meeting, as we said, and we thought mid-August would be when we would post our vacancy notices. Phil has put together the vacancy notice. We actually have it here for you to look at if you want to see it.
Sure, I would love to.
Does the vacancy notice include the qualifications that we want, or does that?
It's a rough,
Just
Okay.
general
Okay,
qualifications.
okay.
The profile will give the specific ones.
Okay,
somebody said it earlier, I can't remember who it was, they're gonna check you out big time. There's gonna be a lot of action on the district website, there'll be,
Looking at board meetings.
yeah, looking at your videos, Googling you. The candidates will watch your board meetings. That's just, they tell us stuff. They tell us more than we know when we do the interviews. And we love that. Tells us that they really are
Done their
serious
homework,
about it.
haven't they?
Done their homework. When it's somebody who looks at us and doesn't know anything about the district, expects us to tell them everything, it's kind of a little bit of a red flag. You have to be aggressive today if you want to get a job in a high quality school system such as District 68. So we have a series of organizations that we post on, basically at no cost. We have arrangements with, like, for instance, the IALAS, the Illinois Association of Latin American Superintendents. We know so many people in that organization that they'll post our stuff for no cost. And we've developed a good relationship with them. Most of the local groups, most of the postings that are done locally are through what we call the Illinois Education Job Bank, and that's run by the State Superintendents Association. That's a big one. We can add anything. These are no costs. There's a couple that have some additional costs. It's minimal, it's in the hundreds of dollars, and that's the National Alliance of Black School Executives. And there's an Education Week journal. I don't know, some of you who are in education may have seen it. It used to be the way to go, and people had every job posted there. Now it's down to like 1.5 pages of ads, and everything's done online. So a posting there is $4.95. So if we wanted to go extensive and add additional resources to post this job notice, it would be total under $1,000 with everything. So that would be up to you. We can do it right on the front end. We can wait and see what all of these other sources bring out. It's just one of those things. We don't recommend one or another because there's no crystal ball to see how many are gonna respond.
That's good, but, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, is it standard? I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. Is it standard when superintendents apply for a position or aspiring superintendents for them to have to submit their transcripts?
Yeah.
yeah, that's so weird.
Yep.
They're unofficial.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
officials. I do that every time.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
We don't make
I didn't even have
judgments
to know that
about
to get a job at Northwestern.
or indeed.
Northwestern better not look up my transcripts.
Yeah,
My GPA was lovely.
Somebody skimmed it, but didn't
Yeah.
probably look at
You also
your
have to like,
system.
you used to have to submit your actual license, now it's all digital, thank God.
Yeah.
But I used to have to memorize my actual.
Well, you want us to
educator.
make sure they're qualified.
And it doesn't actually say official transcripts here.
No, it's all
Right.
non-official.
Right.
That
But
has to
now-
come to the district.
I know. I'm just,
So-
and now we have parchment services and stuff like that. But I have a different
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
Noel, unless you have one.
No, I'm done.
That's a good one. Noel, that was a good question.
So,
Now she's worried about your job.
Yeah, you had a good one.
When they mandate the board permit.
I think Northwest has other things on their mind. I think you're okay.
could you remind us of the acronyms for the websites that you have here, the IEJB? Because I'm getting to a question,
The Illinois Education Job Bank,
okay?
that's operated by the Illinois Association of School Administrators, it's the State Superintendent Association.
And then AASA, these,
That's the national group.
It's
Okay.
American Association of School Administrators.
and ASBO,
That's the Association of School Business Officials. They run a job placement site too.
okay, so these are more broad-based, general databases. So what I might suggest, if my colleagues agree, and if it's less than or equal to $1,000, that this is the opportunity for us to cast our net widely, to have the most diverse pool of applicants by, if you all could provide us a list of outlets like the National Association of Black School Educators, which you
We
mentioned.
use that.
If you could give us maybe a list of what some of those outlets are, and that we could, on the front end, push them out so that we can have an early start at diversifying the pool. That's just what I thought that I,
100%.
As Mark said, it's hundreds of dollars, it's not.
Yeah, we're not talking huge.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I'm like, where's ISA? I'm like, and then I saw IEGB, like, oh,
Yeah.
I use ISA, so that's
Yeah.
why.
we don't know exactly what the
Well,
organizations are.
here's the method to why we do this. In 2011, the state closed off the spigot for out-of-state people by putting in a tier 2 pension system. So whereas people like Phil came from out of state and came in under the wire, anybody coming in after 2011 is a tier 2 employee. That means they're capped on their pension, they have to work till 67 years old. There's a bunch of real penalties that those folks face. So what did it do? It used to be really common for people coming from neighboring states to come to Illinois and take on a superintendency. They would retire at 50 years old in some of the neighboring states and come here, start their career again, work another 10 years, get into a new pension system in Illinois, and it would be lucrative. Now, we see a dribble of candidates from out of state. And so what we've done is we've backed off a little on we're a national firm. Just the fact that we have it on our website gets wide range viewing across the country, no question. We haven't seen any return for posting things in the way of numbers of out-of-state candidates applying for our jobs by going with education week ads or things like that. We do them in some cases just to make sure we're not missing anything. It's sort of like just in case. So that's why it's not a problem for us to do it. If you wanna make sure we're not missing anything, we would absolutely recommend NAPSI. I think it's $250.
$250, exactly.
And the problem with that is it's not as regular as the job bank. Gina, you said, you look at it all the time. People look at that every week in Illinois. So that's the main source.
But these will be in addition to,
Yeah.
I wasn't suggesting, I
Yeah.
mean,
No, we're
And I
good with
think
that.
I think we're all on the
it
same
makes a
page.
statement, right? It says, that you're willing to invest in order to make sure that you are trying to reach out to a diverse candidate pool. So I think just that in itself, for some candidates, whether they're in state or out of state, it just says something.
Then in that case, I would recommend AASA, the National Superintendent Association. They're $495. And they run a month-long online advertisement. I go look at it sometimes. The problem is they don't take stale stuff off that's been up there for 5 months and already filled. But that's okay, it does get some exposure. But the biggest and the greatest amount of exposure generally comes from our own website.
I hear you, I'm just trying to be intentional about the recruitment plan, so
Mhm.
if there are other agencies or organizations like
say
NABC
those
that
are
we
the
can,
two.
you know, like what are some
AASA and
others?
NAPSI.
We're gonna
Besides
do
NAPSI.
IALAS anyway, because that reaches all the Latin American
Okay,
administrators. And, you know, so from that perspective, we really have, when you talk about ethnicity organizations, if I coin a new term there, IALAS and NAPSI are the two big ones.
Well, I would encourage us to think about investing in adding NAPSI to the list if my colleagues agree.
Just,
I agree.
so
I think that's more important than the AASA, just because it doesn't really seem like $500 is gonna get us anywhere.
all it takes is one.
You're not
that's
really
all.
selling us stuff.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't challenging what's on the list, I was
Yeah.
just suggesting of an
Add it, an addition.
addition.
I think what we're looking for is more, I think Mark said that'd be around $1,000. If you say $1,000, we'll pick and choose, given the feedback that you're
We'll
giving us
definitely
tonight.
get the two ethnic-based groups, IALAS and NAPSI. And then I would say personally, AASA over education.
I would agree 100%. I agree.
And we're under that.
I don't know, I don't wanna overspeak, but I think we'd be willing to go a couple $100 over if it meant getting the broad, you know,
Sure.
a diverse pool
Sure.
and a broad pool. But again, I'm one person, so
In the grand scheme of this search, a few
I-
hundred bucks is a,
Yeah.
it's a
Right.
rounding
Yes.
error.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Right.
So I'm not suggesting
I'd rather
taking
do it
anything
right.
off.
Fuzzy
Rather do it
math.
right
No,
now.
we're
I'm not
good.
suggesting taking anything off, I'm
Right.
just
Okay.
suggesting adding NAPSI.
Yeah,
Got it.
I'm with
You've
you.
got one agreement.
I agree.
Okay,
I had a question about the timeline. I don't know if
Yes.
we're at that. I don't know if we were still talking about the different searches, I don't wanna hold on.
I think we're going date by date, but
yeah,
Um,
you wanna wait
we'll
till
just-
you get to it?
Generally, and I'm looking both to you and also those of you that work in education. I'm more familiar with the sort of seasons of career searches for attorneys and how it's based around the passage of the bar. And that there is often an advantage if you are one of the first extending an offer, if you are one of the first interviewing candidates, because you're getting them before they have two or three others to weigh. And I just didn't know if that's similar in education, if there's an advantage to, if this timeline is considering that, if that's not a thing in education, or if there would be a benefit to bumping things up a week or 2 weeks, or if that's even possible. Because we're already starting, middle of August here. But I just wanted to
I
ask
think
so
there's
that I'm
one
educated
issue
about it.
that's different, excuse me. There's almost a malaise in August to mid-September associated with the start of school. You know what I'm talking
Yep.
about, everyone's so focused on getting, there's open houses and curriculum nights and all those kinds of things that we generally don't see a lot of initial interest. But what we'll do is come back and put it back out time and time again, so that people see it. I totally get what you're saying. And we have no problem on our end pushing this up. We're gonna be pretty early out there already,
Yeah.
but
November, December, I would say November, December, January is typically, if you're looking like principal roles are typically like by December, the district already knows, because when you think about when they have to hire and the budget and all that, the November, December. But for, in this case, with a retiring superintendent, like the district, every district knows, like their superintendent retiring, like November, like this, doing the first round of interviews, like November 6th is early for a superintendent.
Yeah.
We're like, even the fact that we're meeting in July,
Yeah,
doing
that's
this.
really.
Oh, yeah, no, I feel like we're on
Yeah.
the stick here, and I just
you
wanna
are
make
on the
sure,
stick,
yeah,
That'll drop.
that if we have an advantage,
If-
it's resource.
I like that.
So well would like to
Technical
start.
education.
Like, it's one of those things where like, when I look for admin jobs, if I see a principal role in May, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, there is
It's a red
something,
flag.
there's like
Yeah, I
a
can't
major
wait for
red
this,
flags. Anything, like superintendent, anything past March there is something that went wrong. Like,
That's
and
And
not
things
that
do
this has
happen,
been,
people resign, they get other jobs,
yeah,
that creates an opening in another
Chairs,
district,
yeah.
that type of thing. And that's kind of what we're hinting at, the status of District 68 will probably create somebody else, an opening in another district as a lateral move, as superintendent to superintendent. I mean, that's just putting on our glasses right now. So, the next entry was the week of 9/4 or 9/11. And I don't know, did you specifically?
No.
That's where we would do our stakeholder meetings. We figure school starts out of the way, probably the second week, the week of the 11th.
We talk with Jim to see what the calendar looks like, because we wanna try
Wanna
to,
get
there's
rid of
always gonna
some
be a conflict,
stuff,
but
yeah.
a minor conflict, not a major one. And we work with Jim on doing that. As you said before, we don't wanna do it too early when school's just starting, obviously that week of 9/4 and Labor Day and all that, but the next week would be fine, or the week after, we'll definitely get that.
Typically, we would look at the Teachers Association, leadership representatives, presidents of the PTOs, PTAs, if there is such a group, if not, leaders in parent association. Teachers, open meeting for teachers, open meeting, 2 open meetings. We will bring another associate with us to cover that day. We just come and spend the afternoon and evening here. And then we'll have community open meeting. Now, please, we'll tell you right now, don't be disappointed if 200 people don't come. Be nice if we could even fill this room. It just doesn't happen when there's no stress going on in a community.
I had 2 questions. So are these meetings gonna be held in evenings during the day or weekends generally?
After the school day, we like to catch, if we don't catch the teachers at the end of the school day, we aren't gonna catch them.
Okay.
And we can do an administrative group during the school day, a lot. We have open meetings in the evening. We try and do them a little earlier, because once people get home and get settled in, they don't wanna come out. So we try and do them like 6:30-ish or so, before people are home and ready. And we've tried all kinds of things, that seems to work. So we would advertise it, the district, see, we can't do that. Somebody like Jim
Yeah.
would advertise it, get a, email blast out. You're invited to meet with us. We're creating a profile, and we have a series of questions. We'll walk through, take notes, that type of thing. And anybody who wants to can. And then along with that, we do 1-to-1 phone calls with each of you. So Phil and I will divide the board in half, or
2.5 hours each, right?
yeah, at least.
No,
Katrina's, yours is right after this meeting.
30 minutes,
Yeah.
just hear your thoughts with no one else around, yes.
Okay, so follow up to that. When do we tell you which stakeholders we think should be involved, right? Because like, since our community is so culturally diverse, if you go to the PTA presidents, like in our school, it's me and Emily, like, it's, you're just gonna get the same folks, and
You're
there's
not
so
different than a lot of other
many
places.
reasons, for that, right? And a lot of that is access, whether that be through language or time or whatever it is. So I wanna make sure that we are actually getting representation from what our district looks like. And I don't know if this is possible to do it with like the parent center, like arrange with them to get the parent mentors as one of the groups. Cause they're in the schools already and, like have that experience. I would prefer like that over PTA parents, honestly.
Well, here's the thing. The feedback that we take from the stakeholders, we have one main source for that. That's the survey we're gonna post. And that survey, everyone can complete that survey. And if you want to translate it, you can translate it. We don't have translations other than English and Spanish,
We can.
but some districts like to do that. Everybody in the community has a chance to do the survey. If they want more, they can come to a stakeholder meeting. That's really where we give people a chance to talk in person.
Right, so generally speaking, from what we know from our community, if we just said, come to an open meeting, like, it's gonna be a certain demographic who shows up, whereas I think if we intentionally say like, can you gather all the parent mentors and you guys have like an actual conversation with them, like, I think it would yield better results.
We'll add it to the list of groups we wanna have.
We'll have an opportunity beyond today to kind of review the stakeholder list with you, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
so
that's what I wasn't sure, like, are we deciding this right now?
We'll work with
Okay.
Jim.
We could decide it right now.
No, thank you.
We'll work with Jim on that as well.
Yeah, it's
But that's a
pretty
very good
typical.
idea, especially.
They're
if
usually
you're
about
in
6 to
work
8.
here.
Yeah, they know the schools better than most of us.
Exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
But again, we really will push the survey. These folks complete the survey. We just had, in Park Ridge, just recently, we had 1,600 people respond to the survey. It's one of the largest for an elementary district, right down the street. We were blown away with the number of responses. So they made an effort. They had their communications person constantly pumping away at it. Whereas some other districts, we get 120, 130. It's not bad, but some places, the more information you get, the better it is. And as we said when we interviewed with you last time, we don't control the survey ourselves because we don't want people to assume that we directed it one way or another. We have a third-party person in South Carolina does it, and it's clean and swift, and we generally have no issues with it.
Are we able to look at the survey before it gets?
It's a canned survey that we wrote for school districts. I mean, if you like, we don't change it.
It's okay.
I mean-
Sorry, one last question slash note, so the week of 9/4 slash or 9/11, I would vote 9/11 one because people are more like
Right.
in life, but then also then all of the Jewish holidays start that following weekend, which does affect our community, so like it would have to be done like that week.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
then,
understand.
yeah, people will be dropping out.
Yeah, that's why we looked at that week.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured that. Noel, did you wanna say something about the survey?
I think I was just gonna add, we probably should review the survey if we're gonna, because we will likely need to assist with translating.
Oh, yeah.
And it's- we'll be in touch about.
Wanna see it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
We think it's important, other than English to Spanish, as Mark said, to have your people translate it because there's different dialects. And we don't, that's something we don't leave to Google because Google
Nope.
sometimes doesn't
Google gets us in trouble.
translate it that way.
So when would we have access to that survey? Sometime before, I guess the survey would go out in,
What if we just send you the one we just did in Park Ridge, same questions.
okay,
And-
thank you.
We can send it to Joe and you can send it out to everybody.
Mhm, thank you.
I don't know if I have a plain one. You have
I might have one, I'll look and see.
I'll look too.
Yeah.
I'll look. Yeah. So October board meeting, we'll present the profile,
That is October
Yeah.
19th,
October 19th.
that is at 7 p.m.
Are you sure?
Jeff is gonna be doing all the doodles from now on, so unless Jenny wants to.
I'm good.
We will cut off applications on the 22nd of October, but that's early. And again, we're out there, we're pushing people to, you can't sit around and wait for 4 months to decide to apply. If this is attractive to you, you need to get in on by the 22nd.
Now, the application procedure says the 25th. And the timeline says the 22nd.
Where's the
Yeah,
application procedure?
That hasn't gone out, that'll get fixed.
So it'll be the 22nd though?
Yeah.
Oh, this, yeah.
So it'll be the 22nd.
Thank you.
We were kind of reading your mind. Push it up just a couple of days. Gives us a little more time to let the stragglers wander in. There are going to be people that come right at the last minute, as usual.
So for the early November meeting with the board, because of the fact that this is going to be a hybrid / closed search for at least the first portion of it, is that a closed session meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
We can go into closed session to discuss personnel.
And that'll be the one that Mark talked about, that'll be about 2 hours. Because we'll present the candidates and then do like a workshop on what questions you can ask, what questions you cannot ask. We'll give you sample interview questions, we'll help you guide you through that, give you an interview guide.
What's the date for November?
11/3 is what I'm penciling in for myself. Do
November
we wanna
3rd.
look at that? But that is, it would be 2
This
weeks.
is early.
This is the question, so this is, because this is why we left this blank on that letter of understanding, is we are having a board meeting on the 16th. 11/3 is a Friday.
Friday, yeah.
11/3 is the date that we have to put, we've been asked by Todd Faulkner to put it a date that the slate can be received by the board at the latest. So I was proposing the 3rd would be the last date for the slate to be. But if you want to present it at a meeting, would that meeting be before the 3rd?
Yes.
Or would it be, yeah, so that would be then Thursday the 2nd.
November
That'd be
2nd.
Apologies.
Yeah. You okay with that?
Does that work for everybody?
Special board meeting?
Thursday, November 2.
Wait, we have one no.
All week
No.
or?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 2nd through the 4th, I am out.
how about the
You want to
first?
bump it to the 1st,
First.
November 1st?
First works, that's better.
As
Only
of
once,
right
only
now,
twice.
I
I
will say
can't
no.
tell you right now.
And-
We're on the stick.
Yeah, I know, but like, I'm also in a final
I know what
interview
that
and
means,
I
yeah.
don't know, like,
Yeah.
what my life will look like in 3 weeks, you know?
Yeah. November's
Okay.
kind of just,
Well, good
I
luck.
mean, there might be situations based on the
It's
timeline that just are not gonna be ideal
It's
in
still
that
good.
I also have a national conference from the.
Yeah, and this is, yeah.
Exactly why we talk
Yeah.
about it now.
Exactly.
Rather than 2 weeks before.
So we're going, trying for the November, Wednesday,
We're
November
gonna
1st.
November 1st, yeah,
November 1st.
a better day.
You wanna
for
go
me
to
as
the
well.
next week?
November 1st works.
Well, this is the, let's
Let's
talk through these dates, because we are then potentially going to interview 6 people. Right, which we could do 2 a night, 3 a night. Having done these, I would say 2 at about an hour plus is enough for me.
Hang on a second, sorry, I just wanna
Yep.
make sure I'm clear. November 1st is the day that we're suggesting to be interviewing candidates, or
No,
this
no,
day?
No,
that-
this
that's
is,
the present.
this is the present, yeah, the
Yeah,
closed,
Special
consultants
board
present the
Yeah.
slate.
Special board
closed
meeting.
board meeting.
We have our workshop too. Okay.
We combine both of that. At that point, we do sample questions, we do all the backup stuff.
What time would you wanna start that meeting?
7,
7?
we'll go the full 4 hours.
4, then you'll break a record.
Yeah, that would be a record.
So the first is you're presenting the slate of candidates.
Yes, and then a workshop.
Yes, a 2-hour meeting, just erase my joke from the record.
And the workshop is for
That's the same session.
That's all.
Sample
Telling us
questions.
what to ask and not to ask.
Yeah.
Oh,
Going over a rubric, there's a whole bunch of little things, detail, it may
how
not
to
take 2
interview
hours.
candidates so we don't make an idiot of ourselves.
Yeah,
But October 9th is
Excuse me.
the board
Thank you.
meeting, right? Is that board
The 16th is the board meeting, and that's the 16th.
Dude, October 19th, Katrina. October.
Yeah, I was.
Sorry, yeah, October 19th is a board meeting. November 16th is the meeting that Todd Faulkner has been invited to join the closed session in order to focus on the contract.
That's
So-
the 19th.
That's on there.
The 19th?
That is the 16th of November.
that may be a little early.
He has asked once the slate has been presented
Okay.
to at least start the ball rolling with him.
Okay.
Now, that also may be taking the fact that we're a week away from Thanksgiving and we're really getting into the
And then
holiday.
the conference,
Right?
the big downtown
And,
conference.
yeah, and you'll be attending the conference.
El Presidente, I won't be here. It's the only school board meeting I'm in.
That's
So
fine. That's fine.
are we then doing interviews like
I
the
could
7th,
Skype
8th,
in
and
also.
9th?
This is why I'm saying
Yeah,
this, yeah.
that's, the pattern, as Joe pointed out, is the critical piece. 2 per night, 3 nights, 3 per night, 2 nights, weekend, Friday, Saturday, and there's a lot of ways
Lot
to
of
look at it.
combos.
And you're gonna present 6 the goal is to present
4 to
6
6.
candidates.
4 to 6.
4 to
yeah.
6, so it is possible that on that night, on the night of the 1st, we will know how many.
Exactly.
We will determine how many of the candidates we'll be interviewing.
I think that we would be just as fatigued coming back a third day if we had 6 candidates than if we were trying to do 3 each night. I prefer 2 nights
Of 3.
of,
I
Yeah.
agree.
Can we do like the 8th and 9th?
Maybe
It's
start a
really
little
hard for me
earlier.
to tell right
Start
now
at
whether.
6-ish,
you
Yeah,
know,
like start at
I-
6.
bring some food in.
Yeah, you'd have to do a 6 o'clock, a 7:30, and a 9 o'clock.
Typically, we'll ask if the board can have some food, you can have with that too. And then on that last night, if it is the 9th, you'll need some time then to talk about how you're gonna, and we'll talk about how to reach consensus, but that'll have to be done that night too. When it's fresh, you don't want to
Yeah.
go away and then. So
Yeah,
8th and
2
9th.
nights makes it a little easier to put on our calendars. Once you're here, buckle in.
I kinda
Um,
like
What was Janu's?
I almost rather just knock this out on mid Saturday afternoon and just, we're gonna, if I'm doing,
Do 'em all?
like, if we're doing 3, I wouldn't mind doing a Friday, Saturday, just get done. During the week, you got kids and dealing with all that.
the weekend.
I'd almost rather do like a 11 to 2 on a Saturday, it's just,
the
That's
weekend of
historically
the
what we've done
11th.
for board interviews, but that was before most of you guys were in the room.
Like,
Usually
one day-
daytime.
We don't wanna let you leave here without this decided.
Yeah.
So
this is
apart,
the big one.
again, this is just me throwing it out
Let's
there,
hear
right?
it.
So if we did like, just pulling that week up. So if we did like that 8th, which is a Wednesday, and we did that 11th, which is a Saturday, it also gives us time to kind of digest.
That's
Because
better.
3 interviews is a lot, because it's a lot of
Mhm.
information,
Yep.
it's a lot of note taking. You have a few days to kind of digest through it and look through it, and then as you meet with your next half, if you're doing 3 and 3,
Mhm.
when we deliberate, I think is the right word, and we kind of like collaborate, then you have just a lot more info at once, and we can, not back to back. Back to back is a lot.
And if we're
especially
doing
for super
4, it becomes two interview sessions.
Right.
Very likely.
I think the Saturday is way easier with kids' schedules and we have I have 3
Yeah.
kids, there's so much going on, it would be almost.
As much as I hate to lose a Saturday,
I'd rather lose a
I'm
Saturday.
just envisioning my wife's anger on Wednesday and
Same.
Thursday back to back, and I'm like, I don't want to see that. But a Saturday, I'm
Don't
like,
either.
just take the kids to the park. I'll be back, and
Saturday
we
is
got the
better
rest of
than-
Saturday evening.
Saturday 11th is Veterans Day, just FYI.
Yeah, my veteran will be fine.
Well, that covers that.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we
Oh,
keep
yeah,
in mind
I
for
totally
not just
get that.
us, but for
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
No, I have a kid auditioning in an Indiana campus that day, so that'll be my challenge to wrangle.
And I'm likely single parenting that weekend. My kids are old enough that it probably will work, that I could be here for several hours on Saturday, but I don't know
They could babysit my kid,
that.
cause I live across the parkway from him.
That's true.
2 for 1.
Come on over,
I just wanted to throw that as an option. I just feel like,
I think that's better.
especially when you have
A Wednesday and a
2 back-to-back
Saturday?
stages,
Yeah, I have a
just
huge
gas.
event, either the 2nd or the 9th.
Yeah, the
Right.
9th is, I'm supposed to be doing NTDSE, so,
Mhm.
which, you know, is not a problem necessarily to miss, but, it is easier for me if we do the 8th and then the 11th.
Remember 8 and 11 then?
If we're
8th
gonna
and
do a
11th.
weekend day, I'm okay more with Saturday than Friday, cause I do Shabbat and then.
What would the time commitment be
Hold
that
6 to
Saturday?
11.
I guess it's our choice if we're doing
Yeah.
2 versus 3 in a
Right.
day, right? So if we had to do a Saturday, or if Saturdays, if it's about truncating the time, then we do 3, but you just spread them. So you go like maybe a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday, only 2 weeks, that's not as bad. But, just again, throwing it out there. So maybe you could do a 10 to 12 if it's only 2 people, or 10 to 12.
What are you talking about on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that I'd be available.
I would pencil both of them as 5-hour windows, the time on Saturday.
Okay.
Oh.
How,
If
if you're doing 3, if you're doing 3 in a
if
day.
we're, so I'm saying if Saturday's time windows are an issue, then maybe we go like 3 days at 2, and then Saturday's just maybe a
I think,
2.5.
no, I don't think anyone's a fan of 3 days. I do think
I'm not
there's,
either, I'm just-
there's a possibility we're only gonna have 4, which would be,
Right.
then we could even do 1, 3, and a 1.
Yeah.
Or a
Right.
2 and a 2, if it feels like the Saturday ends up being the shorter day, unless we have 6.
Then we have, let's say there's 5, we could do 3 on the
Right.
8th,
3 on Wednesday.
2, and then your reaching consensus then, and that's pretty much.
Yeah, cause you're gonna want, that's the bigger conversation is at the end of that meeting.
Consensus, yeah.
Okay,
So,
Can we
sick,
do
I'm
it in
holding,
the afternoon of the 11th if we're gonna do it, like nap time?
how's noon
Like
at
one
Your
to
nap
four.
time?
You can 9 to 5 or 11
Yeah,
to
12 to
4,
5,
12 to
whatever,
5.
yeah.
If we're gonna do Saturdays,
Then I'm
to
missing
me,
them all
Saturday,
day.
Say,
I'm not sure where we are. I don't know
Yeah.
if we're on a Wednesday and a Saturday, or if we're on a,
you're on Wednesday, and Saturday.
right now, it's Wednesday the 8th and Saturday the 11th.
November 8th.
The time groupings you haven't decided.
The 8th would be a 6 o'clock, I would say a 6, a 7:30 and a
7:50.
9.
An hour and 15 minutes, think,
Oh,
per
so
candidate.
even shorter.
So you can condense it a little bit.
6, 7:15, 8:30. Done by 10.
What time would you wanna start on Saturday?
I think noon is what we just
Noon.
decided, so it'd be a
Sure.
noon,
Noon.
a noon, a 1:15 and a
Okay.
2:30.
And you can flex this
Yeah.
down the road, it's just reserve those
Right.
dates.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah,
So let me know the moment you think.
Alright.
I'm just thrilled that I can actually make all of those.
for now,
November's going to be a hellstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conferences
And I,
and
and I
meetings.
will,
Yeah.
I will apologize if I can't be at some of these, it's kind of impossible for me to know for sure.
And if something happens, we also have benchmarks within. If you have to be late, you can come to the second.
yeah,
Third.
you can remotely access
True.
the interviews too, that has been done
Okay.
many times.
So,
Okay, so you've accomplished that. Second round of interviews with the two finalists, we projected out the week of 11/27.
After Thanksgiving.
So you're finalizing this in November.
Wow.
You can't get much earlier than that.
That's
Take
ideal.
time.
how long are those second round interviews?
Similar. Here's the decision you have to make, okay? Go back, Katrina, you'll remember this. The traditional model is, you say you have two finalists. You take the finalists to dinner at a local restaurant, get a private area, private room, and you have part of that, get to know the person, a little less formal, and then the other part, they do a short presentation for you. The presentation is generally what their entry plan is gonna look like, and what they're going to do, what they're gonna concentrate on first couple of things. But it's a chance to get to know them outside of them sitting here and you all staring at them. So that's the traditional model. We're getting about 50-50 with that now. A lot of districts like it. It's just a nice way of getting to know the person. Or other districts, they just replicate that in-house. So the person comes, they do a presentation, they then will have a food brought in and sit around. You wanna get to see them in a more relaxed, more social environment, so to speak. So it can be replicated in the district, or you can go to, Maggiano's private room or something like that.
So what I'm hearing is then we have to be budgeting for 2 to 3 nights at a minimum because we're not gonna be like staffing dinners.
Two.
Well, cause it's at 2 or 3.
Possibly
nights,
3,
yeah.
yes, possibly 3,
And those are evenings.
yes.
The week of the 27th?
Yeah, so we're talking, that week after Thanksgiving.
Keeps you out of Thanksgiving and it's prior to the winter holidays, so.
It's outside of AAA.
Yeah, it's outside of the stuff that takes your time, and I know for a lot of people, they just begin holiday preparations right after Thanksgiving. So this should be able to get you through. And then, if you notice, we did put the staff, the hybrid type interview model, which we thought might be a selection here. And then we built in that after you have nailed down to your final 2, then you would get the feedback from those folks. Or we could put it in front. We could do it either way.
Hmm.
It's kind of, I would, as, for me as a candidate, it's really a lot nicer to like be able to get my presentation done and then relax with people rather than doing the converse.
Yeah, because the whole time you're probably thinking about your presentation as you're trying to be
Right,
social.
in which
Yeah,
case it's
not
really
organic.
hard to,
I'd rather not the presentation up, but I kind of feel like having them being in the community, like going over to the local spots, kind of nice to see how they interact. with them.
charcoal grill is a front of some sort, so.
Oh, God.
Oh, for sure,
Is that still open?
for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really hard to
I
tell.
can't really figure out what's going on.
We had to go once,
I don't know if I
very
can do
nondescript.
Once in that.
There were no witnesses.
That week is, yeah, I don't have any.
It's gonna be a brutal week.
I have a potential group outing
Of
on
the
either
4th or the
Wednesday or
11th?
Thursday. No,
Oh, we're still on the
27th.
27th.
I'm free, so you guys can.
first.
Do it the Thursday, just because it's. At least
Joe, you said you have a conflict.
Right now it's on the calendar, it's either Wednesday or Thursday.
So then you wanna do like the 28th?
So if we say Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
You said
I
you
just
might
feel like
have a
Thursday's like
conflict
muscle
on the
memory for
Thursday.
us.
No, that's right, because it's on a Wednesday or Thursday, I can hopefully make
Tuesday
sure.
or Thursday.
What do we do Monday and Tuesday?
28th and 30th?
If you decide to do it in-house, you can piggyback them and do it in one night. But if you choose to do
You gotta
the,
eat twice.
to go
No,
out,
we
That's
want-
my
we
word
want dinner.
here.
at least pick a place where you know you're gonna like the food.
Right.
I
Can we
bet-
just, can we not
I
worry
know
about
this
the
is open
place and
session,
just
but
think
I'll
about the
volunteer
dates right now?
Yeah,
per
dates
use.
Should we just focus on the dates
Right.
instead of the
Mhm.
place?
Yeah.
Does Tuesday, Thursday
Yeah.
work for everybody?
And then we wouldn't have to.
Noel suggested Monday, Tuesday.
Just, I actually don't care, I'm free, it's really, you have almost.
Monday,
every time.
But Monday is the Monday after the holiday
Mhm.
weekend, I just think
Okay.
that's just
People are
a lot.
If you guys wanna go out of house, have you guys been to DeSalvo's?
I ordered for
On
next
Central.
week.
Yeah. I think we were just trying to do dates right now.
Okay, cause I was just gonna say the mom, they go to Devonshire and they have a private room, and I know they'd be like, yeah, sure.
That's
No,
great.
I think only on Monday would be an issue finding a place, Tuesdays and
So
Thursdays should be.
Tuesday,
28th and 30th.
So then again, 6 o'clock,
okay,
Alright, so now we're 28th and 30th?
then we have a consensus there.
Until we
That
don't.
works.
Yeah.
Until one of us can't be there, but yeah, right now,
Want to do the Friday?
I think our Friday is probably our backup,
Mm.
especially because we have to make sure this person can do
Yeah.
all of these dates.
So this is,
They
we're
will.
distinguishing this from finalists. We're distinguishing these as
That point, they're
finalist
all-
interviews,
Yeah,
right?
finalist interviews on the
This is
28th and
finalist.
30th.
Somebody's gonna send these dates to us later.
We're
so
gonna
we
read
can
Oh
double
yeah,
double
I got
check.
it all, I got it all on the notes.
And are we talking like a start at
Well, it
6,
is
7, what are we?
6, I would hold 6 to 8.
Could we say 6:30? I have a call that goes from 4:30 to 6
On the
Is that-
30th?
every Wednesday.
On the 28th.
I mean, every Tuesday.
On the 28th, 6:30 to, and that's for consistency, do that same thing on the 30th.
I just wouldn't wanna be late. And I can't.
Yep.
6:30 to 8,
6:30
6:30
to
on
8:30,
Tuesday the 28th, and then the 30th.
correct.
Superintendent finalist.
And if we have a strong third candidate, we'll know that,
That will be up to you.
yeah, early
As
enough.
you interview,
Right.
if you
Fight
have
over
a
when
difficult
that-
time deciding, we always say err on the side of caution and bring in the other person.
Yeah, is that a tricky one for you?
Yeah, it just looks funny, but I don't have my university calendar fully done. This time, 3 months ago, I wasn't gonna be in the job that I'm in now, so everything is different for me.
Let's
But,
vet those dates when we get home and.
Yeah, thank you.
That's why we say we're looking down the
Mhm.
road, but that comes very quickly. And this would be a 3-hour discussion 2 weeks before.
Say that again?
This would be a 3-hour
Please.
discussion if it were 2 weeks before the dates.
Oh,
that
oh,
we have.
yes.
Move into
I'm like,
this
when is the
room.
3-hour discussion? We've gotta
And
schedule that.
It'll be an immovable.
No,
It'll
don't
be
find
okay.
a night for a 3-hour
At least I
discussion.
get free dinner.
Just joking.
If you're sleeping in
Oh
the
my
house, just text me,
God.
yep, I'm there with you.
Yep.
No 3-hour discussions,
I'll
nothing.
be outside probably.
Hopefully,
Change the locks.
lately what we've been
Try to
seeing
put 'em in
is
both calendars.
when the boards are finished with their interviews, they come to a consensus fairly quickly.
Yeah.
20 minutes, half hour.
Easy December, because we're doing all the work in November.
We can play with, if we decide to do the heterogeneous grouping of key staff for an interview of your final 2 candidates, we can fit that in. We've worked with Jim on that.
If you need it, that's something.
Yeah.
Fowles doesn't like Pete in, we're just not gonna pick on
No.
That's just where we are.
I don't
Like,
think
oh,
we're going to
man,
see
You're tough,
that.
you're tough, man.
But I am accurate.
No
You don't like a
privacy.
Skokie
No,
staple, you
privacy
can't
at
here.
the peanut
This
gallery,
meeting is
guaranteed.
still being recorded, this is not an official endorsement of any Skokie eatery.
Spitting room.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, no private room at Dextro's either, I guarantee you, I know, I've been there.
That's my kids to go with me.
So we can, again, make that decision with the staff interviews down the road. It's just, if anybody asks, you can say we have a provision for the input.
So do we need to set up a meeting for the final decision, or is
You're
that done
gonna,
by
Phil, as Phil alluded to, you're gonna take some time after your second dinner.
Mhm.
So the second night will be a little longer.
Oh, okay,
You can have 2 desserts instead of 1.
so the 30th.
The 30th,
Correct, yes.
the 30th might go a little bit.
And I guess the one you have slated for the next week is if we have 3 candidates?
No, there is nothing slated for the next week yet.
No, but I'm saying on here he has. we
That's
have-
the staff.
That's if you want to do that.
Okay,
Yeah, and we'll know if we have 3, we'll know we'll have 3 finalists, hopefully early enough to find a time. It could end up being, let's do something easy here and have both of them come in, one at 6, one at 7:30.
The good news is with this timeline, you'll have this done prior to winter break, which puts you out front of other,
Oh.
of other searches that are going on.
Just as,
Yeah.
Yeah, no one is gonna scoop you. The key is, we wanna wake everybody up who's interested. And get them into the mentality that, oh yeah, it's just the beginning of the year, I can't be looking at other positions now. We wanna make all those good candidates aware, plus the people we're just gonna approach and say, hey, have you looked at this job? It's a great place. And, that's the recruiting, sales
Absolutely.
type situation. And with multiple jobs going on at the same time, one of the largest openings I've ever seen as far as numbers of available superintendencies, we have to push this kind of stuff. And nothing wrong with getting out early. Then you have this whole transition time from January till June 30th, where as Jim is finishing out his career, the new person is transitioning in. The new person will not be a stranger on July 1st because they will have had opportunities to come to school events, concerts, programs, whatever it is, just so people can see him or her. And I think that's the best way to get things going. No stress, you have plenty of time. The unknown is, will you like the candidates? None of us know that.
Just quick logistics, we tend to have our closed sessions at the tail end of our meetings. So that would be on the 19th, you would join us?
Yeah,
October
sure,
19th?
sure. That's when we're doing the profile.
No.
That's closed session, right?
Oh, that's not a closed session, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, yeah, that is not a closed
That's
session,
right.
apologies.
Yeah.
It would just be,
No,
oh,
you just said.
would you, so if we have Todd in here to work with us on the contract, is that something you'd want to be in on? that
Not
closed
really,
session?
unless you want, I've seen his contracts. I've signed 3 of them myself, so. There's, to be honest, there's a nice template that they have. You have to put in some things
Right.
that you may specifically want in that contract. It's sometimes hard to do when you don't know the person who's going to be coming in and what their strengths
Right.
and weaknesses are. Will they need some mentoring if they're less experienced?
we provide the year's mentoring, so we're there for that. But will they need a little more intense hand-holding, that type of thing?
Moving.
Not in a negative way.
Yeah.
Will somebody who might be moving from a long distance ask
For
for a
expense.
one-time moving expense? So Todd will bring all those things up.
Right.
But, you know, as far as we're concerned, we tend to, only if we're needed. If you want us, one of us can come here, we can be here, but not really that necessary.
Any other questions?
Very general ones. Where have you seen this process most often fall apart? What have boards done that made this more complex or not as effective that we should be conscious of as we start this?
I'll be glad to start.
Go. Oh, yeah. You have more experience in it than I did.
One would be, and I don't see this being the case at all, if the board is not getting along with each other, that'll sometimes come out in the interviews. We'll talk about in the workshop, that interview's a two-way street. And as Mark said, they'll be doing their homework ahead of time, looking up, and they'll be able to sense pretty much, that would be one. The second one would be, again, if the board's not on the same page, of having trouble coming up to a consensus with the candidate. And we'll talk to you about some ways to do that, to avoid that.
Okay.
Which I think has worked very, very well with that. I think those are probably the two main ones. The third one I would say would be, yeah, this would be an important one, is the confidentiality to get down to the very end. Because we have had board members who have not abided by that and talked about it. The candidate found out about it and said, I'm done. I'm out, because I got too much to lose at this point. So, yeah, those are the three that
Thank you.
I would say with that. But I don't see this being a concern here. You're very thoughtful with each other, and this is a great board to work with. I think
In the end too, sometimes contracts get a little bogged down, expectations of the candidate. What they tend to do sometimes is look at what the outgoing superintendent is making and envision that. And we try our best to put people back into reality. And that's a person who's been superintendent for 10 years there. You know, even though you may come from another district with experience as a superintendent, there are some proving points. But this is a different world today. People come in and they have high expectations of getting what they want. If they're selected, they get what they want. So sometimes that bogs things down a little bit.
the other thing that does help with that is the Illinois Association of School Administrators has an attorney who, Chad does this all the time. He will help saying, you know, that's a little bit too high expectation here for that, or that type of thing. So he'll help mitigate that along with Todd.
Yeah, the attorneys get along really well. The Chad absolutely does a great job of representing the superintendents, but also does a great job of getting along with the attorney groups. You know, there's multiple attorney groups. And in his role, he has to represent mostly new superintendents who are getting their first contracts and has to kind of hold their hand. And so they do a good job, and they really, I haven't heard too many disagreements. It can't be settled. But it sometimes is a thorn.
As we tell our candidates, you do not negotiate with the board, the two attorneys do that, because you don't want to start out a relationship
Mhm.
that way, so.
Yeah. But Phil hit it on the nose. If the board has symmetry, if you don't all have to agree on everything, you don't have to be on the same page on every single thing, but how people treat each other at the board table and how meetings are run, are they efficient, they business-like, those kind of things, those are real selling points. And as we said earlier, everybody who's interested in this job, and we've talked to many already, even though we haven't posted anything, they're already looking at your videos and they're gonna watch this meeting and everything else, yes. So, this is something that you can never predict when there's an obstacle, but
usually runs fairly smoothly.
Thanks, that was helpful, appreciate it.
Good question.
Any other questions that you might have?
Everyone's smiling, that's good. Good start.
8:30, not too bad.
Nice.
That's getting satisfaction.
Wonderful, all right.
Thank you very much.
If there's nothing else to adjust, I would like to, if there's no further business to come before the board, I call for a motion to adjourn.
I call for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Joseph,
Yes.
Renegro,
Yes.
Ruffner,
Yes.
I vote yes. Sullivan,
Yes?
Warsaw,
Yes.
Bill Jordan.
Yes.
We're adjourned, the camera is still live.
Thank you.
When does it go
Stop
off?
being live.
I will let you know.
Okay.
The blue light goes off, right?
It's not
You
to,
have to say frozen exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna go to the basement, but I wanna be careful about that. So,
Lana Graf.
Enjoy your vacation.
Lana.
Chicago.
Lana Grove.
I was gonna say, it was
Spelled
my
wrong.
cue card had, so.
Emphasis on the
Lenny
first
Girl, but
syllable.
It's Lana.
I think this was
Lana.
Joe's hazing to spell it on.
I did not touch that sheet. All I did was hand it to
Originally,
them.
that's now that, yes, I don't know.
Originally,
It should be Lonigro, it's a Italian name,
Yeah.
but it's Lanagro, cause my family's from here.
okay.
Okay.
It's
Uh,
Crazy what we Americans do to
Yes.
pronunciations, right?
That's what
We
happened.
Americanize it.
Maybe Jim could just send me a copy of the,
They did grow outside.
Yeah.
Jim's gonna be part of our team,
Yeah.
we're gonna put Jim in the middle.
My grandma always did.
Absolutely,
We're
that's
still on,
what
we're
The
still
whole
on.
thing.
We're still on, folks.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Can't wait to hear about your adventures.
Oh my gosh, if I
Just
come
want
back
everyone
with
to be
that
aware.
star, it'll be
Yeah.
amazing.
Good to see you.
Still being recorded, we're
I mean,
having a
yeah,
personal
thank
conversation.
you. I'm taking the family on a road trip to
Hey Joe, thanks a lot.
Colorado, Utah, New
We'll,
Mexico, and I
Make
rented
that
a
change on the
trailer
date
to
on
pull with our car.
Superintendent vacancy.
What a great time.
Thanks.
I'm
Yeah, stay
installing,
with the Bears.
I'm installing the hitch on the car
That's the
myself.
news headlines.
Oh,
today.
that's why you're worried.
Okay.
Talk to you how that
That's
went.
fair.
absolutely.
I'm
I'm crawling under my car, I figured it out though.
That'd be
I'll be
great.
fine.
I don't know where you get water, I don't know where you get it, but it all seems to work
It'll
out.
be